In that case, you're taxed over income that you didn't even have at all.
Hello everyone, my name is Felicia and welcome to today's video. Today we have Menno joining us, a tax advisor at TaxSavers, and he's here to answer your questions about the OWR form. Hi Menno, glad to have you here.
Oh yeah, good to be here.
So could you explain to us what is the OWR form?
Based on the current Box 3 system, you're taxed against a fictive return that's calculated on your the value of your assets on the 1st of January of the applicable tax year. The problem with the system is that you get taxed over fictive income, while in reality you can have like a lower actual return on your investments or bank accounts, for example. In that case, you're taxed over income that you didn't even have at all. So the OWR form makes sure that you are able to give up your actual return over a relevant tax year. And if the actual return is lower than the fictive return where you always get taxed over, then you can get a refund from the tax authorities.
And what does it actually stand for, OWR?
OWR stands for Opgaaf Werkelijk Rendement, and in English it basically to file your actual return over your assets for a particular tax year.
And when can you fill out the OWR form?
The form is available since July this year. It's available online in Mijn Belastingdienst, but it's really important. You can receive an invitation letter from the tax authorities with all the information in there. So it's advisable to wait with submitting the form till you receive the invitation letter from the tax authorities.
So you automatically get a notification?
Yeah, the tax authorities automatically sends an invitation to people who are applicable for filing the actual return form. And that way you have a letter with all the relevant information in there. So really advisable to wait for that letter before starting submitting the actual return form.
Okay,
Yeah.
and do you have to submit it every year?
Yeah, the actual return form is meant for a particular tax year. So for example, you get an invitation for 2022 and you file the actual return form for 2022. So for each year you get a separate invitation from the tax authorities, and that way you can file your actual return form after receiving the invitation for each year separately. Yeah.
And what if your actual return is higher than your fictive one?
The actual return form is kind of a win-win situation, because what happens if your actual return is higher than the fictive return where you always get taxed over, you don't need to pay any extra tax and you're just taxed on the current Box 3 system. If the actual return was lower than the fictive return where you get taxed over, you have the right for a refund. So kind of a win-win for tax residents in the Netherlands. Yeah.
Interesting. What happens if you don't submit the form?
If you don't submit the form, then you're just taxed based on the current Box 3 system. So basically nothing will change from your old assessments from the tax authorities. If you resubmit it, then you can see if you're eligible for a refund if your actual return is lower than the fictive return where you get taxed over.
So can you get an extension?
No, unfortunately, it's not possible to file for an extension regarding your actual return form and the filing of it.
So what if you submit late?
If you submit late, in first principle, the final assessment from your tax return is based on the current Box 3 system, so with the fictive return rate. After you receive the assessment, it's possible to make an objection within 5 years, and then you can still submit the actual return form for those 5 years. So the only difference is that it will be you will receive the amount that you have to write for later on, instead of directly when you meet the deadline for the actual return form.
So if you have a tax advisor, does the tax advisor get the letter?
No, the letter is only sent to you personally. So if your tax return is filed by a tax advisor, then it's really important to forward the letter to the tax advisor so he's aware of your deadline.
Okay, and when is the deadline?
For normal cases, it's 12 weeks, the deadline. And if your tax return is submitted by a tax advisor, you have an extended deadline of 26 weeks in this case.
So what if you got the letter before hiring an advisor?
The tax authorities really look if you have filed your tax return yourself or if your tax return has been filed by a tax advisor. They don't look at your actual situation, but really the moment of submission. And once again, if your tax return is submitted by yourself, you have the deadline of 12 weeks. If the tax return is submitted by a tax advisor, you have 26 weeks to submit the actual return form.
Okay, interesting. Well, we're coming to an end. I know that TaxSavers also helps with the OWR form. Can you tell us a bit what can TaxSavers help you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we can take the complete actual return form out of your hands. So we start with collecting the documents, assess the documents, and make sure that all the information is correctly submitted in the actual return form. What we do is we have a contact form on our website. We will ask you some general questions. Then we have a picture of your situation. And once we have that, we will give you a free introductory call to introduce you with our services and see how we can assist you best in this matter. Next to that, we can of course also help you with normal income tax returns and personalized tax advice.
So to our viewers, thank you for tuning in. We hope this made the OWR form a little less confusing. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and we'll get back to you.